Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Here we are with NFA Live every Thursday morning, at least on the East Coast of the United States. But here we are. We have Guy from Coin Bureau. How's it going?
I'm well, thanks, Ben. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. And we have Rob from Digital Asset News. How's it going, Rob?
Hello, hello, everybody. Doing great. Doing great.
You got the classic green screen behind you.
It's very difficult to keep up this facade, but thank you. Shout out to Fiverr for doing a really great job.
I have a question. With inflation, are they going to have to change their name to like Tenor or something?
Tenor, so they can be in the opera. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyways, let's go through. We got some questions today. I'm curious, just starting off with Bitcoin. This cycle has felt nothing but different for a lot of people for a long time. But it still actually continues to play out very similar to prior cycles, just with diminishing returns, right? So I guess the question is we have seen Bitcoin find lows in the mini Septembers in the past. Like we had a low in 2021 and in 2023. Maybe not in 2024. I think in 2024 the low was in August, but they didn't even go back to 2017. We had a low. So the question is Guy, and I'll start with you. Do you think that this time is not different and Bitcoin will carve out a low here in September? I mean, I feel like sentiment hasn't really been that great ever since because Bitcoin dropped for about 3 weeks straight into but I mean it did that as well in 2017. Are we just kind of setting up for Q4? What do you think's going on?
Well, I guess first thing is I think one of the reasons why sentiment is so low is because Bitcoin has done well, and a lot of people feel sidelined. I'm sure a lot of people hold at least some Bitcoin, but probably a lot of people don't have it as the cornerstone of their portfolio or the majority position or what have you. So seeing kind of Bitcoin's outperformance and seeing Bitcoin doing so well and all this adoption and stuff is kind of great, but it's not, because that is not translating into success for alts like it has done in previous cycles, or at least that's the perception that a lot of people have. Some alts, namely Ethereum, and it seems now like Solana, have started to outperform, but it's not what it was in 21 or 2017. So I think that is a big contributor to the kind of overall sentiment. In terms of whether we could see a low from here, I mean, I personally think Bitcoin is just looking really, really strong. Like, okay, it's seen ETH has outperformed it recently, and dominance is dropping. But just when you think, the demand for how big can the demand from the ETFs be, then you get all these copycat MicroStrategy companies springing up. Now, obviously, we're seeing this for other cryptos as well, and that could have a knock-on effect on Bitcoin. But I do feel this is a different market that we're operating in now, and it just seems like the genie is sort of out of the bottle a bit for Bitcoin. In previous cycles, it was still a really, really niche asset, and I think that is just becoming less and less the case with each day. So my expectation is that it will hold up pretty well. I guess the only thing the thing that I'm watching that could take it lower is perhaps an issue with one of these treasury companies. I don't think Strategy. I think like most people, I think Strategy is probably okay, and Saylor knows what he's doing. But perhaps we see a contagion spread to perhaps we see some downturn, and one of these other companies that have bought Bitcoin and taken on with too much leverage, perhaps they could drag it lower if they're forced to sell, and others are forced to sell as the price goes lower. But I kind of think Bitcoin looks strong, and we just want to see some movement in the alts market now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it had a pretty nice reset, and so far it's holding up pretty well. So hopefully it can do so for the rest of the month. And then Rob, do you think do you think that Bitcoin, assuming it can hold here for the next couple of weeks or so, do you think it's going to set up a nice Q4, potentially a grand finale to the cycle?
I mean, if we take a look at that's a good question, and this is actually come to what I was thinking about, is that everybody's so focused on we're myopic on September and just looking at these 30 days. But if we look forward into Q4 and the gains that are there, I think that's the bigger play. So for me, I don't know which way it's going to go. But September, historically speaking, is pretty awful. But if you take a look at September versus Q4, you can see the difference. In blue is the Q4 percentage ROI. And in, I guess that's a gold color, that would be the negative aspect of just September on the blow off top or post halving years. So 2013, you actually had it like -4%. 2017, you had around -8, 10. 2021, you had -7, roughly. But then you look at Q4, October, November, December, I mean, that's when all the gains are there. Historically speaking, that's pretty much what it is. So I don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. People are saying that, you know, we could, like, guys got a good point. There's a reason why it's strong right here. It's because it's still the king and the treasuries are there. But some of the problems is that the things that we don't know what could happen. I think if we just focus on that, that's good. The big thing, of course, is it all comes down to macro. And on September 17th, is Jerome going to cut rates? I mean, right now we're at 90, almost 80%. So if that happens, I don't see a reason why not only will it hold, but it should increase. But the bigger question is what then happens with the altcoins? And really, to me, it just comes down to liquidity. This is the M2 money supply going until August 4th. I don't have any other data from there. If we just keep the liquidity going, the money printers going burr, and even the global, I think we'll be just fine. So for this time frame, I don't know, again, what's going to be. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm looking more forward to Q4 going from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sobering chart, right? To see the Q4 performance. It could be one of those things where maybe you have an all-time high, but then the end of Q4 is bad. That's kind of what happened the last couple of cycles, where
yeah,
you know, we had a good October, but then we didn't top out before the end of the year. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting. I'm curious because, you know, Guy mentioned about how a lot of people probably are kind of sidelined on Bitcoin, and they're more so waiting for their altcoins to move. And I guess maybe the question is like, what is stopping altcoins from making their typical moves? Do you think do you think we're just waiting on Ethereum to more durably break all-time highs? Or do you think they're just, I don't know, doing something else? Rob, like what needs to happen for altcoins to really chip away at sort of the market share and not just continue to sort of give back their gains to Bitcoin in the short term?
Well, I think it comes down to, I think Guy even touched on this, what brought up the altcoin market in the previous cycles? It was retail. And because retail hasn't got burned so bad, especially on meme coins, and the VCs really did a great, I mean, I got to hand it to VCs and the meme coins. They made it look like it was a retail run, but in the background, from the different products that I talked to, it was all VC focused. And they did a fantastic liquidity grab, and then they burned everybody. And retail is thinking to themselves, why would I want to go back to that? I'm going to not invest or invest into something even more risky, gamble, or just stay on the sidelines. So for altcoins, I think it comes down to, again, I'll just show you what I think. A guy touched on this as well. It's the treasury companies, first of all, and the flows of ETFs. We can see that, I mean, Ethereum not doing too great as of like yesterday. 3rd of September, there was a negative outflow. And you can see the last 3 from 20th of August, 2nd September, 3rd, there's a negative flow. But Bitcoin is doing just great as far as the ETF flows. But it's not just the ETFs. You have to take a look at the treasury companies. And then also for these other treasuries like the Ethereum one. I'd like to see, like, this is from BitBo, Bitcoin treasuries and the percentages. What I like what Strategic ETH Reserve did is they're showing you, like in real time, just how much Ethereum is being gobbled up. And it's not just these DATs, these digital asset treasuries that on Ethereum. There's also digital asset treasuries for for Dogecoin now. There's also one for Tron. There's also one for Solana. So you name it, there's these treasuries that are popping up. And if you could just kind of track it like this, you can see where things are going. I don't know. I don't know if altcoins are going to come back, like the number 1,237th altcoin's going to make it. But if you just stick with some of the blue chips, I think you'll be okay. And then, of course, if you want to just track some things, just go to Google Trends. How to buy Bitcoin over the last 5 years, that's pretty low. I think it's because retail, either they don't care or the ones that already done it know, or it's just all institution buying Bitcoin. Ethereum, you can see right here how to buy Ethereum, even though we've hit all-time highs. Retail doesn't care. Best altcoins to buy. There was a big of a jump in July, but now it's like lows. And if you also want to do some tracking of when altcoins come back, just check Coinbase and see when it starts to pop off as far as people downloading it. I think the last cycle, it was number 1 in finance. Right now it's number 26. So for me to say what it is, I'm not for sure. But I have this theory, which is Visa tracks stablecoins, and they track the rails that the stablecoins are built on. And if you just take a look at this site, it's over on Visa. Where is this? Visa On-Chain Analytics. You can see that I still think that stablecoins are going to be pretty big and the rails are built on. And the top 4 is always the same thing. It's always Ethereum, Tron, Binance, and Solana. And I don't make the rules, it's just what it is. And if you scroll all the way down, you can see the stablecoin metrics on the ones that take 93% of the market share, which is Tether and USDC. And it's always the same thing. Tron, Ethereum, Binance, Base, I suppose, Solana, and then layer 2s. And there's all the volume. And that's over a year. Tron is 3.1 trillion and Ethereum is 2.8 trillion just on USDC and Tether. So, I mean, for these things, like, I don't know if like your alts are going to do well, but if you're looking to like say, well, which ones can actually have utility, that's where I would look at.
I think you mentioned like the 1,000. Would you say the 1,200 something altcoin? That one? Yeah, right. I think you're talking about, probably the altcoin that a lot of people are holding in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. There's always somebody holding
my altcoin.
That's Guy's alt. Yeah, exactly.
You got to be careful when you single out a specific alt, because number 1,230, whatever, is going to belong to someone.
Pitchforks and hatred.
Gold and silver. I don't know, guys. I'm sure you guys are aware, but gold and silver are moving quite a bit recently. I mean, gold is 3,500. Silver is at like $40. Do either of you view these as like worthy of investments? I have some in my portfolio, but I'm curious. Do you actually view them as worthwhile to have, or is the opportunity cost a little too high or something? Like, would you rather be putting your money into other stuff than that? Rob, we'll start with you on that one.
I have it in my Roth IRA, gold and silver, but I don't own it like physically like the gold bugs do. I think it could do well. I know that people talk about how great it's done over the last month. And if you take a look at as far as Bitcoin versus gold, yes, gold has outperformed. But if you take a look at 6 months, 1 year, 4 years, you can see which one has outdone the other. And it's Bitcoin. I'll still hold it just because there's some good days, and I feel like it's something that a prudent investor should. But I don't hold a very vast amount of it. It's just in my retirement account.
I feel like I was looking at an interesting chart recently, and it was the QQQ divided by gold. Is kind of an interesting chart, because while Bitcoin has outperformed gold, this cycle, I mean, honestly, stocks have not, right? Like, I mean, especially like as measured from the 2021 high, the QQQ, which is like, a basket of all these big tech stocks, it's down almost 30% against gold. And think about how well things like Nvidia and Meta and Netflix have done, but yet they've still, or at least the basket of them, right? The QQQ has still underperformed these, and it kind of makes you think. I mean, it makes you think that like maybe we're in a, times are changing. Gold is finally starting to move after going sideways for so long. Guy, what are your thoughts about gold and silver? Is that something you dabble in at all?
I mean, I own some gold ETF shares, which were bought for me by my investment advisor, who knows more about these, who knows sort of more about stocks than I do, which isn't particularly difficult. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely part of a good diversified portfolio. I wouldn't say either an asset that particularly interests me all that much. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I've got Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin is that's my hard money that I like to hold, and it's something that I like to think I know a fair bit about. So I'm sort of comfortable, and I'm much more comfortable with the risk than maybe a lot of other people are. But I guess it kind of makes sense to me why gold and now silver are outperforming, because I think I do wonder how much the idea of the fiat Ponzi is kind of getting through to people outside of crypto as well, because over the last few years we dealt with this spike in inflation, this post-pandemic spike in inflation that I think was new for a lot of people. A lot of people were used to low rates, inflation not really doing much, and then suddenly it changed. And I think now there's probably a much greater awareness that all these fiat currencies can be, there's nothing stopping that train. More and more bonds, more and more debt just gets issued. I think a lot of people are becoming aware of the debt situation as well. There's been talk recently about the UK's debt, which actually isn't that big compared to either compared as a ratio to GDP or in actual dollar size to a lot of other countries. But for various reasons, it's become the most expensive debt in the G7 to actually service. The rate on UK gilts is at, I think, a 30-year high or something like that, the highest since 1998, I think. And so, that's just the UK. Debt is out of control and a lot worse in a lot more countries, particularly the United States. So I do think that a lot of people more and more people must be becoming aware of that and thinking, wow, I need a hedge in some way. And gold and silver is an easy to understand thesis, I think. So it doesn't surprise me that they're outperforming. But yeah, I mean, it's, for me, Bitcoin is my hard money.
Yeah, no, I mean, historically, Bitcoin does outperform gold and silver. But I have gold and silver and uranium and palladium and some other stuff, and I was noticing all of it's kind of picking up recently. And the part of my portfolio that tends to not move is finally moving. So, no,
but that's the sign of a good structured portfolio, isn't it? Because or a good diversified portfolio, because at some point one part of it will move. The crypto part of it will shoot up, and then and it rotates around. So you've got a much better chance of whatever outcome, or whatever may be going on in the world. At least one part of your portfolio is outperforming. So from that point of view, it makes a lot of sense as well. Uranium is something I'm very interested in as well. I'm actually looking at tokenized uranium at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uranium is, I think, one of my best performing commodities in recent months. I think gone crazy, and I've always been interested in it because my background's nuclear. But I mean, we haven't seen this stuff moving forever, and it's now finally moving. So maybe the world is starting to really care about this stuff. And also, too, I mean, you have to wonder if I guess the other question about this stuff moving is, like, what does that mean when this stuff moves this quickly? Like, sometimes people say it's a sign that, the Fed is maybe not doing what they should be doing, maybe not prioritizing what they should be prioritizing. I don't know. But
yeah,
maybe this is a sign of them doing not what they're supposed to do.
Hey Ben, what's your thesis for uranium? I know it's your background, but why now?
It's
Why
not just
get
now.
into?
It's been for the last forever. It's not just now. I mean, I do think I think the future. I mean, fusion is not something I mean, I just know so many people that have been really bullish on that becoming economically viable, and it never really has. I think in general, I think things like I think we've talked about this stuff
Yeah.
before, right? But like, I think in general, we should be bringing more nuclear power plants online. We should be focusing more on small modular reactors to get out to, like, communities that can't necessarily connect to the power grid.
Right.
I don't have anything specifically for now as to why. It's more so I'm just long-term bullish on it, because I think nuclear power is a big part of, society's future. Whether we're willing to accept that right now or not, remains to be seen.
Yeah. Go ahead, Guy.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's going to become, a no-brainer in a way, because the AI revolution, an AI search. If you just use ChatGPT rather than Google to answer your question, which is what increasing numbers of people are doing now, I think that uses anywhere between sort of 3 and 5 times the amount of electricity that a regular Google search does. And like, this stuff isn't going away. AI is becoming more and more embedded into society, and we got to power it. And I think you're seeing Microsoft building. Is it Microsoft that's refurbishing 3 Mile Island? Amazon is building its own reactor in order to service its data centers and stuff. This is the uranium is nuclear is. Yeah, as someone said in the comments, I think it's really the only option in a lot of countries.
Yeah, there was this piece I saw about the amount of electricity being used by the United States and how much is used per year, and taking a look at 2021 and what we're going to need in 2030 for AI. It's just for AI in 2030 is the same amount of electricity that's needed that we're using in the entire United States this year. In 2025, I should say. So in 5 years, we're going to need to exponentially grow. And I think there's only a couple ways to do that. Now, of course, drill, baby, drill. And oil can only do so much, but nuclear got a bad rap. And I think that there's a way for that moving forward. And people are going to say about, well, radioactive waste, and we already solved that. And Ben, if you want to, I mean, we can talk to that, but there's a couple of different pieces that I've already seen we're safely getting rid of radioactive waste.
Well, and also too, I mean, like when you drill, that also can have, I mean, a lot of this stuff can have negative impacts on the world, right? It's not just like nuclear is the only thing that causes issues. Obviously, drilling can lead to certainly bad outcomes. There have been people that have died before with accidents and whatnot in that field. I mean, even some of the stuff. I mean, you also have solar, you have wind, but I do think, and even wind can honestly have its own issues. But nuclear, I just think that the way that societies really progress is when they solve their energy problems, And if I mean, I'm assuming what Rob says is true, because I definitely believe it, that AI is going to keep becoming, more and more prevalent. How do we solve these future energy needs? And I think nuclear is a way to do it.
Yeah, I don't think there will ever be a point or I certainly can't see this ever happening, that the planet goes, humanity goes, what, we're good for electricity now. We got enough. We're fine. Yeah. Like the more we build, the more we will need, because the more progress we will make, the more discoveries that will come across and stuff. And it'll be like, this is amazing. We better build a few more, we better get some more power for it. But that is progress. So it's just something that's going to keep building on itself, I think. And you've got to and as you say, Ben, like drilling for oil, hydrocarbons in general, even if you don't buy all the environmental damage stuff, just getting this stuff out the ground is hard, is expensive. Windmills kill birds and whales, according to the president. Nuclear, for all its bad rap, is probably the only option, and you need uranium for that.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say, like, I think a lot of the different forms are fine. I'm not like trying to say any of them we shouldn't be doing. It's just more so doing the other stuff to kind of get us to the point where we can do stuff that can actually meet our energy needs, I think is the way to go. So hopefully we expand and hopefully we make that a priority, but we'll see. The next question, and guys, if you guys have questions for either Rob or Guy, if there's been something pressing you've really wanted to ask them, feel free to put that down in the comments below. But I had another question for you guys. First, let's just assume the 4-year cycle is intact. And if it is, we'll have a bear market at some point. What are you guys going to focus on the next bear market? So if you think back to like 2022, 2018, 2014, what's the focus of the next one? Guy, any big plans? What are you going to do to fill up the time if prices just aren't going anywhere for a little while?
take a long holiday. That's a good question. I don't really know. Like as we discussed on the show, was it last week or the week before? Here at Coin Bureau, there's a lot of stuff that we want to do. Obviously, we want to keep growing. We want to keep spreading the word. Expanding to other territories and languages, getting more faces on the channel, etc. And maybe doing other products and things like that. But yeah, I think there'll always be, even in a bear market, there's always cool stuff happening. And that's kind of why I'm a bit more, although, I'm not exactly, I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to the bear market. I'm kind of a bit more optimistic this time round, because I think a lot of the stuff that we now have in crypto is probably going to stick around. Like there will be a bit of a wipeout when we get the bear market. We will see some projects go to zero, probably a lot of projects go to zero. But I do think like there is lots of cool, usable stuff. A lot of that is around, things like stable coins and stuff, which isn't exactly rock and roll. But I think, we are seeing crypto become more and more embedded. I found this news from last week that the Department of Commerce is publishing economic data on chain. I think that is so interesting. Like that, I think we're going to see much more of that, and I think there's going to be a lot to talk about in that sort of sense as well. So, I guess when the bear market comes and people lose interest and get depressed, I think we're just going to try to keep flying the flag and be like, look, this is the stuff that's survived. This is the stuff that's interesting us at the moment. Try and figure out where it's going to go next. Does AI and crypto have another big pump? Is it something else? Do real world assets sort of take center stage? Does Deepin have another go, et cetera, et cetera? So I think it will be about kind of finding what is left, from the creative destruction process, if you like, what is left and what's worth focusing on. But yeah, also maybe take a bit of a holiday as well.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Why don't you come to the States?
Yeah, Guy, why don't you come to the next Bitcoin event in Las Vegas?
Should we just take NFA on the road? Should we do a stadium tour?
Yeah, we should go on tour.
We'll like set
up a little booth and like 3 people show up, and it's just us 3.
What we should do? We should do what Peter Schiff did. Is just all the like the gold and silver events. We should just go to those. And everybody can hate on us, and then we can spread the gospel.
Just be obnoxious crypto bros that turn up to regular events and just sort of they're spreading the word. I love it. Oh, I think we'd sell out a few small stadiums. We'll just go coast to coast. We'll start in New York, work our way across, to the West Coast. It'd be great.
Nice one, Guy. Small stadiums.
What about you, Rob? What are you doing? Are you someone mentioned that you previously said you're just going to kind of bow out. Is that still on the menu?
Yeah, I just take a bow and say thanks everybody for the last 5-6 years, and I'll see you in the bear market. So the bull market, no one needs a cheerleader. They just need to know like that somebody actually did sell, and it's like you're not gonna go into purgatory for selling some of your crypto. It's gonna be okay. And then I just leave and I don't do any videos for a while until everything collapses or we have a major pullback and we go into a bear market, because that's when everybody needs a little bit of a pep talk, when everything's super down. So that's when I'll come back. But there's one thing that I would like to do, and that is because we live in Puerto Rico, and there's a housing shortage over there. There's like 300,000 houses that are called zombie houses because of whatever reason, because of the different reasons for tax incentives, tax reasons, because people have passed away and it went to their family, and there's like 10 kids, and they're not there's just people are just can't find good housing. So what I thought of, I've seen these different fractionalized real estate companies. I thought to myself, well, this would work out pretty well. I can take the liquidity from people who are like, well, what do I do with this? And then put it into Puerto Rico, where it's a great place to put it into like real estate, and not like the vacation homes, VRB, Airbnb, stuff like that. I'm talking about like real houses that people can live in and that are sustainable and long-term. So stuff like that. And then of course they get a percentage back from the rent that's generated. I like to do something like that moving forward, but that's me talking to a lot of different companies moving in that direction.
Sounds interesting. I'll cheer you on.
I know you're like, you should have just bought Bitcoin. You're probably gonna be right.
Anytime I like literally look at the real estate market, it just I'm just like, why? I don't know. I think I maybe am not considering all the tax advantages and stuff, but anytime I look at it, I just get depressed because it's like, okay, I have to work my butt off, and then I get like a 5% return.
Exactly.
Like, what's the point? Like, why not just put it into any other asset class? That's my struggle with it. But I understand that. I mean, so many people I know swear by it.
No. They swear by it because 5-10 years ago, it was a great type of thing. But as we move forward and the interest rates go higher and the property value goes up, and who knows what's going to happen later if, for money printing, it's not near as good. And you should really, if you're looking for maximum returns, that's not the way to go. If you're looking for like job creation and to help people and to go on that route, then yes, real estate is great. But if you're looking just for gains, you're better off not doing it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that want to get into real estate now probably couldn't afford to back in 2017, 2018, 2019 because they didn't have the money. Now that they have the money, the prices of real estate are just so much higher. So
after 2020, forget it. I mean, after the coronavirus and everything went up crazy, it's like a house that would cost you 180 is now going to cost you 430. And it's like double, triple in some places, and it just sucks.
I really wouldn't mind getting into it and being more diversified, but I feel like the math doesn't math right now.
Right.
So
it strikes me as something like if you want to be in that sector, if you want to be someone who makes most of their money from real estate, it would probably make sense for you to be the sort of person who kind of can be quite hands-on with it. And, if one of your properties has an issue, then you're the sort of person who can go and fix it. So not only do you have that capability, you have some like building skills, landscaping skills, technical skills, or whatever, but you also have the sort of person who has the time to go and do it. It feels like a labor of love in a sense, but also the kind of thing that it's just, you either do it properly and you are that guy, you're the real estate guy, or you're just like, do you know what? I'm going to stick with Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah, it's 100% correct. And that's it. So like real estate, if you guys are looking into it, the gains aren't really much there. It's for other reasons.
Ben, are you going to increase your chess ranking? Is that your plan?
That's true.
That'd be nice. I'm currently 1750. The highest I've ever been was 1900. So I'm trying to get back up to that level.
Okay.
So, that was a fluke. And it was like a couple years ago. I had like a really good streak and I got up to 1900 and I felt like, oh, I've leveled up. And then a couple months later, I was right back down to where I was.
That sounds like the altcoin market.
Yeah.
Can your website do a chart of Bitcoin maybe measured against or others against your chess score?
I think honestly, I think my chess score was a function of Bitcoin dominance back then. Like whenever that was going up, I was playing really, really well because mentally I was doing better. And then whenever people were screaming at me that I was missing alt season, my rating was going down.
Hey, that would be pretty cool on your website. Use some kind of like AI integration, and it kind of maps out like what your moves would be at 1750, and then people that actually on your website go and they're like one little section like play against Ben,
Yeah.
and you can play chess against the
Ben's
AI
chess
version.
rating is high right now. He's feeling too confident. So fade his current thoughts.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I've honestly I've thought about it because it really is. It really would be an indicator. I actually there's one more question I forgot about before we get to the questions in the chat, and that is we saw the job. We've seen some of the labor market data come out recently. Job openings. We actually just saw the number of openings per unemployed worker is now below 1. And the reason why that's important is because Powell has referenced that metric for years now, saying it's above 1. Well, now it's not. And I think we had some ADP, like the payroll stuff, come in today, and it wasn't negative, but it wasn't that great either. Like, just like I don't know what it was, but it wasn't that great. I'm just going based off what people are saying in the chat. I haven't actually looked at it, but it seems like we're going to get a 25 basis point rate cut. At what point? I mean, is there justification for them to actually consider, I don't know, 50 basis points? And if not, what do you think would have to happen between now and then for them to do a 50 basis point rate cut, or is there not a chance of that? Either you guys want to take this one?
I will. I'll just start off. It's, there's a dual mandate, right? Which is to bring inflation down to 2% and to keep the economy chugging along. And the economy is hurting, especially if we take a look at those job numbers. I get it. But I know people say, well, inflation is not too bad. It hit expectations. It hit expectations, but it keeps going up. And if we start seeing like 25, 50 basis point cuts, I don't think it's warranted. I know some people say, well, in my town, these types of prices, and I get it, but I don't see like what we've got 3 meetings. They're calling for a rate cut, 50 basis points, and then maybe another rate cut. So looking at a full point, I just don't see it. And then look at like in the UK, guy, didn't they cut rates like 5 times? And then their bonds are like not all time highs, like 20, 30-year highs at 5.7%, 30-year bonds. So I don't, and like you said, the debt, I just don't see it. And maybe I'm missing something, but if it's a dual mandate and they want to keep inflation down, it's just going to keep going up with rate cuts.
Yeah. And inflation has spiked back in the UK as well. I think it's now, if it's not at 5%, it's near there. It's tough. It's tough. Yeah. I would say in terms of what Powell can do, I think ironically, perhaps, all the pressure that Trump has been putting on Powell and the Fed recently, and I mean, it's really ramping up, isn't it? There was all this stuff that was talk about suing Powell. There was all that funny business about the renovation of the building. Now he's trying to get rid of Lisa Cook, and of course that's all going to court legal proceedings now. Stephen Miran is joining the board soon. I can't remember exactly when, but my point is that Trump is putting all this pressure on Powell and the Fed because he wants cuts, and I kind of think ironically that means that actually the most sensible thing for the Fed to do would be just the smallest cut possible, because if they do a large cut, if they do a 50 basis point cut this month in a couple of weeks or whenever it is, then maybe people could then accuse the Fed of kind of caving in to pressure from Trump, which would then perhaps cause questions about the independence of the Fed. And of course, once the Fed's independence starts being called into question, if markets believe, and I guess if the bond markets believe that the Fed is no longer independent and is just dancing to Trump's tune, then that could have pretty serious repercussions. We could see the bond vigilantes stepping in again. So I think, from Powell's point of view, not only has, as we've said many times before, is he probably pretty fixated on inflation for reasons of financial stability, the economy, and also his legacy. But now, I think he's also going to want to try and show that the Fed is going its own way. And I just wonder whether a 50 basis point cut wouldn't look a bit too much like bowing to pressure. And therefore, actually, with all the pressure Trump has put on, he's kind of made a 50 basis point cut much more unlikely. And they'll stick to the smallest cut possible. That's not to say that we won't get more cuts at further meetings, because I think there's probably a good chance of that. But I think really Powell probably feels he only has the option of a 25 basis point cut.
Yeah, just for appearances, right? Someone mentioned too. We have more inflation data to come out before the next Fed meeting, so I don't know when the PPI comes out exactly, but we're definitely going to have CPI really soon, next week, I guess. So some people are saying, what if you don't have a September rate cut? I think they're going to cut. I mean, unless, what would headline CPI have to come in at for them not to cut? What, 4% or something? I don't know. It seems like
what was it? What was the last reading? Didn't it spike to 3.9 or something? Or am I hallucinating?
Well, I think we're talking about different.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think we're talking about different things because, like, the United States inflation rate was at 2.7%. You're probably thinking about PPI or core PCE or something like that.
Yeah.
All these acronyms. It's like I'm back in the military. Nice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of acronyms, someone wants to know what NFA stands for. So either of you guys want to take that one?
Well, I that's an odd question. It's like you wonder how long they've been watching this for.
I mean, I always just thought it stood for no something altcoins, but is it supposed to mean something else?
Not for, I mean, it should be NFYA, not for your altcoins, but
yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should change it to NYA, not your altcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, next episode. NYA live. It's a little bit more of a mouthful. NFA kind of trips off the tongue a little bit. NYA, not your altcoin live. I
don't want to leave him hanging, so it is not financial advice, but yeah. Let's see. How about the Fed ending QT this year? What are the odds of that?
Well, yeah, because I mean, rate cuts are not, that's an important distinction to draw, isn't it? Just cutting rates is not ending QT, and it's certainly not starting QE either. And again, maybe that's something that's sort of fallen by the wayside a little bit. It's like, all this bullishness around potential rate cuts and stuff. It's like, yeah, QT has been sort of winding down a little bit, but it's it's still a thing.
I'm looking at, I don't know about that one. I'm just looking at all in the comments section. What people are saying is NFA is for, not for amateurs, not funny anymore.
Not fun anymore.
No.
Gosh, that stings. That really stings.
Not farming again. If you're into DeFi, that's good. No effing alts. That's pretty good.
That's what I thought it was. We're just, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll end QT this year or not. I think they're probably going to end it this year or next year. But I don't know. Someone says, is QE a requirement for alt season? I don't think it has to be, because I don't think in 2017 we had QE. We just didn't really have a lot of QT though. And also rates were a lot lower as well.
Yeah.
So I think that probably helped.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's see.
But I mean, if you take a look at like rates, I mean, we were flat in 2013. In 2017, we were actually increasing rates going into 2018. And then, of course, 2021, it was, nothing because of the coronavirus. But Bitcoin's done it all. And even in 2024.
But I think the argument in 2017, too, is that, like, rates were going up, but they were still way lower than they are now.
Oh, yeah. They're lower.
But, yeah.
But, I mean,
there's always something to worry about, right? Like, there's always something. So yeah, you're right. Bitcoin kind of has survived all these different conditions.
True.
Gosh, we have 3,100 people watching. Actually, it's kind of
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Not bad.
All right, our NFTs coming back.
I've seen a lot of talk about that on crypto Twitter. Someone was pointing out that the NFT market cap is about 6 billion or something now, and sort of half of that is CryptoPunks or something. I don't think NFTs are going to go away. I think there is a future for them. I just don't think we're probably going to get the same sort of mania like we did in 2021. I mean, that was so stupid, wasn't it? I'm not necessarily saying that NFTs themselves are stupid, because I think there is a lot of potential utility there. But it was I do remember sort of people publishing long tweet threads about why they would never sell their ape, punk, whatever it was. And all the stories about people who held hundreds of these things and didn't sell a single one, and went from worth millions, tens of millions to a few thousand. But I do think NFTs have a place, and I think they will become. I think like a lot of crypto, they'll sort of become more and more embedded, and once people figure out how normies can use them without having to download wallets and sort of interact too obviously with crypto, then I think they will be a thing. But I don't think we'll get the same sort of silliness we had. We'll get another sort of silliness.
It'll just be something different, right?
Yeah,
it's always something different. I know, like Michael Soto talked about, how he thought they were ridiculous, not NFTs, but NFTs on Bitcoin, ordinals and things like that. But then he came around and said, well, if we can do it like a proof of reality, proof of a human, proof of a person, and you can put that in a wallet and then interact with people, and I could see that. I don't know how that would actually work. That's for the devs to figure out. But there's a big problem with all the deep fakes and the irrational posting and things like that. So sure, but then you'd need one wallet. Well, actually, no, you wouldn't. You could have multiple wallets that could hold that, and then that would verify you are who you say you are, and then do that. But then, how much would that cost? I don't know.
Yeah. A couple more thoughts for NFA. No fake alt season, and next Fed assumptions.
We do talk about the Fed a lot, so that is probably fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Who was even paying attention to the Fed before crypto? None of us.
Yeah.
No one of us cared about that. Now all of a sudden it's like, what did Jerome say?
Well, I think a lot of people kind of got into crypto. Maybe I think a lot of people kind of lean. I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of them lean on the younger side rather than the older side. So a lot of people's first foray into investing, period, was in crypto, right? And in 2022, when crypto was going down, people wanted an answer why, and the answer, right, the easy answer was inflation's going up, and naturally you find yourself wondering what the Fed's going to do. So I think a lot of people ended up getting there like that.
That, and they figure out where inflation actually comes from.
Yeah, people should know about this stuff. This is stuff being decided by a small group of people in a room in Washington D.C. or wherever, and it has huge implications. I think that's one of the great things about crypto. I think, and about having been in crypto, is that obviously I've learned a lot. Arguably too much about crypto itself, but I've learned a lot about how the wider economy works, and I didn't really know that much before, and that's been really, really interesting. And I really think that is something that young people should learn about, because it has real consequence. So it's good. We should all nerd out on the Fed and who the next Fed governor is going to be. That's a good thing.
Lauren says for NFA, no functional assets.
Which is 99% of the crypto market.
I saw a really funny tweet recently. I was like, and I've joked about, earnings reports for altcoins. But someone was like, this random project released their earnings report, and they're like, the quarterly earnings was $9 or something.
It's funny, but it's a lot of it is true.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
There was one. In fact, there was a tweet today. I think someone spotted that. I forget which one. A crypto protocol that was really hot recently. The name's gone out of my head, but it made something like $45 in the quarter, and they calculated that was EPS of or earnings per token of like 0.000000000054.
That's bad.
Oh God. Yeah. Nerds finally awarded.
Nerds finally awarded. This reminds me of that time we were like, I asked about like a song or something to describe crypto, and then like I ended up reading everyone's comments for a while.
Yeah, bring back those questions. Those were good ones.
Oh, here's a good one. Not fooling anyone.
Very good. They're Curious Sea wins a crappy NFT.
New favorite altcoin.
We should do this type of question next week, and then like do like some kind of like giveaway or something. Like whoever has the best response, and then we'll vote on it. And
no fools allowed. I count 3 of them.
Yeah, we're right here.
We got the 3 Musketeers, right?
Yeah, false advertising.
All right. I don't have anything else. Let me see if there's any other questions. Yeah, someone says, Rob, are you still intending to bow out at the top? I think you already answered that one.
Yeah. And then just so everybody knows, like people say, well, Rob said he's going to be out in the bull run, and we're in a bull run. We are in a bull run, but I'm talking about like when I actually sell and I ladder out. So there's a difference.
Will you jump in the pool if Bitcoin reaches 200K?
That's
difficult to jump into a green screen, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
That would be great TV.
I think that's mostly it. Someone says if the top is in, can you see a 70%? I mean, you could even ask this question regardless whether the top is in. So let's just say, can you see a 70% drop in a bear market? Is that still a possibility, or are we past that point?
70% drop for Bitcoin?
I don't know.
For alts, definitely. For alts, 70 would be great.
A 70% drop for alts is a bull market.
Yeah, 7% drop for alts is a Tuesday. Nobody cares.
I don't know. It goes back to that first question, doesn't it? I just think Bitcoin is too is kind of not necessarily escape velocity, because I think it can still go down from here, and it could go back below 100K easily. But I just think it's kind of too strong now. I think it's too embedded, and too many people know about it. Too many people are wise to it.
Yeah, that's my winner right there. Guy, good point, but no funds anymore. Buy the dip. I'm all dipped out. That's a good one. No funds anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just keep getting distracted.
We should have asked this question at the top of the stream, and then just stream people's answers for the rest of it.
No fiat allowed.
Good one.
Nachos for all.
Advertising. There's a lot of ones in here. Nakamoto finally.
Not bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been going for about an hour, guys. Thank you for coming here. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys check out Rob and Guy's channel, because we're going to be doing the NFA stream on their channels, and the next couple of weeks. So next week it should be on Rob's channel. Again, link to those are in the description below. But it was a pleasure to have you guys here, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks,
no Ferrari after all. There we are.
Ferrari. Yeah. Nice.